Hi, good evening. This is Cocktails with the Candidates, and guess who we have today? We have Kim Dudik from Missoula, Montana, running for Attorney General. My name is Ming Cabrera, and I'm with the Yellowstone County Central Committee. So, Kim, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Ming. I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you for coming on such a beautiful day, both in Missoula and in Billings. Hey, Kim, one question right away. Would you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Kimberly Dudik. I am the mother of 4 lovely children. They're the reason I'm even involved in politics. And I grew up in Frenchtown, Montana. I have enjoyed everything there is about Montana growing up, the outdoor experiences. Was in 4-H, rode horses, rode bikes on dirt roads, and all that great stuff. I went to college here. I graduated from MSU with a nursing degree, and then I went to law school at the University of Montana. Eventually, I kind of melded the two together, law and health, and I pursued a master's in public health from Johns Hopkins in Baltimore also. And so I've been an attorney for about 18 years. And I've been a professional for about 20 years. I started out as a registered nurse specializing in neonatal intensive care, caring for those little premature sweet babies. And at the same time, I was a domestic violence advocate, an advocate for survivors of domestic violence. And really that opened my eyes to so much more in the world. I wanted to do more, so I went into law. And like I said, I've been an attorney for about 18 years, fighting the good fight on behalf of the citizens of our state. I've been both a deputy county attorney enforcing our laws and helping citizens, as well as an assistant attorney general when Steve Bullock was our attorney general. And I've been in private practice most recently for the past about 8 years. And during that time, I've also been a state lawmaker, leading some real key reforms in policies in the state that matter a lot to me. But the most important thing to me is that I have 4 lovely children. They're 11, 9, 6, and 3. And they are just the reason I do everything to try and make the world and the state a better place for them.
Wow, Kim, that's a lot of kids, and they're all young.
Yeah.
I
Well, they
gotta
pair
ask you.
off. So we have 4, so they pair off. So it makes our lives a lot easier, especially during this time of social isolating and staying at home. They can pair off and play together.
Wow. Well, not only being a nurse, but an attorney and a mother, what makes you inclined to run, Kim?
Well, the entire reason I ever decided to run for office to begin with was, about 8 years ago, I was working as an assistant attorney general, and I saw one too many children die at the hands of their parents. I saw that our laws weren't working, keeping children safe. And when I had my second child, there was a baby about her age who was returned to its parents, and within days that child was dead. And I thought that I needed to do more. And so I ran for office 8 years ago, and I've been doing more for the past 8 years, leading some key reforms in child protection, child sexual abuse prevention, and holding offenders accountable, leading some good reforms, making our public safer, dealing with criminal justice reform. And I saw that even though I could do somewhat as a legislator, and I've represented the citizens of the state for the past 8 years. It's been a great honor. I wanted to do more. And I see that we need a fighter in the Attorney General's office who's going to put citizens first, put people over politics, and really get things done for the citizens of our state. And I'm that person. I've been able to do it as an attorney, as a lawmaker, and I want to continue that as Attorney General, really make the Attorney General the citizens' attorney and fight for the citizens of our state.
Thank you. Very good. Kim, what makes you qualified? I know being an attorney is very much part to be an attorney general, but what makes you qualified to be the attorney general for Montana?
So I'm qualified to be this, and I touched on it lightly before, but the depth and breadth of my experience makes me extremely well qualified to lead our state as the chief law enforcer, the chief legal advocate during these times. I have experience as a lawmaker, reforming our policies to provide for public health, to provide for healthcare, try to deal with insurance costs, but also to make our state safer. On top of that, I have been a frontline prosecutor, leading the charge on making sure our citizens were safe and that offenders are held accountable. So I have substantial criminal justice experience. Then I've also been an assistant attorney general doing the same sorts of things, but focusing on protecting children. So I have that experience. And then as an attorney, I also have experience in civil litigation, which is what a lot of people equate attorneys with. When you have a problem and you own a business and you have a problem, you go to your attorney, that's civil attorneys. Or if you're getting divorced, or if you're a crime victim and you want to sue the person who has harmed you, then you go to a civil attorney. And that's really what I've been doing the past 8 years. So I bring all of that experience as a frontline prosecutor, a frontline lawmaker, and even a frontline nurse, being in charge of healthcare and serving on one of our local hospital boards. I bring all of that experience and perspective to the Attorney General's office to identify problems, come up with solutions, and then actually implement those solutions to make the citizens of our state safer and make our state better. That all makes me extremely well qualified to serve as the Attorney General of our state.
Thanks, Kim. Hey, you mentioned earlier that there were some significant reforms that you worked on as a legislator. Can you name one or two that you are most proud of, or things that you think that were worth us to know about?
You bet. There's been quite a few. As I said before, I've done a lot of criminal justice reform, but I've also done things like we have a significant bullying problem in our schools. And for years, legislators had tried to address that. And I was finally able to address that bullying problem and pass the Bully-Free Montana Act so that citizens and the students can be safe in our schools and know what the schools will do if a child's been bullied. So that was something I was very proud of, especially because my children actually understand that one and they know what it means when mommy makes a law. This is something they talk about, and they understand what bullying is, and they understand how the laws are supposed to protect them. So I'm very proud of that. But in addition to that, I've done a lot of reform in the criminal justice realm because that's where I have spent a majority of my career. And in doing that, I've done such things as work with a great team of people to eliminate the statute of limitations for prosecution of child sexual abuse cases. And that matters to the children who have been abused. And then we've also tried to give people a pathway out of the criminal justice system by providing them with more treatment or more programming to help them change their behavior. And also allowing, one of the key examples of this is working with Senator Diane Sands. We passed a law that gives pregnant women who are facing addiction, it gives them help and services instead of criminalizing their behavior, because we're trying to help break the cycle of abuse that we see in these families. So that was one that could provide significant help to people in our state. We have an extremely large chemical dependency problem. About 100,000 people from one study I read are said to have a chemical dependency problem, and we don't have enough resources to treat them. We only have enough resources to treat about 10% of them. So we need to really build on that. And we did some of that with the reforms that I led with improving criminal justice response and criminal justice defense if you're facing incarceration, but we need to do more there. And so that's something we've done and I'm proud of, but we need to do a lot more. And I've also helped deal with modern day slavery in our state. When I first started in the legislature, I became aware of human trafficking, and it was just becoming really something that the public was aware of. And so I worked with legislators and other elected officials to change our human trafficking laws and really try and help people who are victims or survivors of that crime and help them find a way out of it. So we made a clear stand in that human trafficking is not okay in our state. We don't tolerate it, and that we will help those who have been victimized by it. So those are all things that I'm very proud of. And just one more actually that I think is extremely relevant in what we've seen in this town where I'm in Missoula. It was just made into a book, but it's a problem that really impacts the entire nation, and that's with sexual assaults. And what we saw was that the sexual assault response in our state needed to be improved. So I worked in improving the definition of consent, dealing with sexual assault, and then also dealing with the processing of the untested rape kits that we saw. We had a backlog of over 12,000 rape kits, and I was part of reforming our laws so that there's no longer going to be a backlog of these untested kits where somebody doesn't know what happens to that evidence kit after it's collected. So I'm very proud of all of those things. I think they're good steps forward for our state, and that's really what I like to focus on. It's my life's work to protect vulnerable populations and make our state safer, and that's all been part of it.
Thank you so much, Kim. That's quite a bit what you've been doing. So thank you so much for your efforts. I want to put these kind of two questions together more or less. Is what do you want to accomplish as an attorney general, and what are your priorities that you're looking at as an attorney general as well?
So my priorities really fall into four buckets, and the four pillars would be safeguarding our rights, and that includes everything from our women's right to reproductive health care, or our right to a clean and healthful environment, our right to free and fair elections. And those are all rights that we have and that are extremely important, our right to health care. And so that's all in the first pillar. But then the second one is protecting consumers. The Attorney General leads the Consumer Protection Division, and we need to be doing more in this day and age to protect consumers from things dealing with pharmaceuticals like price gouging or price fixing, where people are being charged extremely high rates for medicines that they need, and that's only because the companies are profiting from them. As Attorney General, I'd like to take that head on and deal with that so that we actually hold those companies accountable and change our laws, but also hold the bad actors accountable, stopping that sort of behavior. And then the third thing that I think is very important is public safety. And I know this is something in Billings as well as other places in our state that we're dealing with. We have significant public safety problems, and a lot of it deals with our chemical dependency problems that our citizens face. So I think we need to invest more in our public safety areas, provide more treatment, more deferred prosecution programs, more pretrial diversion programs, and more treatment courts, more ways for people to address their addictions and other problems that are leading to public safety issues. And then last but certainly not least, especially with Earth Day being tomorrow, is that we need to protect our right to a clean and healthful environment and keep our public lands in public hands. And that's something where, you know, we live in Montana because it's a beautiful place. Our outdoors are a way of life, and we need to ensure that our public lands are not sold off, that they're not hurt with different types of development, and that we can keep them forever and keep them for future generations to recreate on. So those are my four main priorities. As far as, you know, digging into a little bit more what I'd like to do, one of the things that would be one of the my first steps in office would be establishing an official office of Native American Affairs to deal with the complex jurisdictional issues and other issues that our tribal nations are facing. They have a lot of challenges. Some of it comes down to the fact that there's the federal authorities, local authorities, state authorities, and they all have different jurisdictional issues. And when you're trying to respond to a crime or get help for an investigation, or even dealing with, right now with COVID-19, with different healthcare issues, we need to have better collaboration. And I would like to build on what the Attorney General's office has been doing, but do more and build upon that. So that's one of the first things that I would really like to do to see us do more in our state. And then I talked about healthcare as far as I think it's a right that we have to healthcare, and we need to be able to afford our healthcare, and we need to hold those companies that are profiting off of our illness. We need to hold them accountable. I need to be an independent watchdog for those bad actors, and I look forward to that. I've been doing it as a legislator, as an attorney, as a prosecutor, and I'll continue to do that as the Attorney General. So those are some of the issues that I'd like to address, including, I mean, there's so many more that really face the citizens of our state. We need to address the unchecked violence against children and intrafamilial violence, like domestic violence in our state. We're seeing that rise right now with COVID-19. And those are things that the Attorney General can be a leader on, improving our response and truly addressing the problems of domestic violence, sexual violence, child violence that's been going on too long in our state. We need to do more about that. So everything that we've been doing, you know, free and fair elections are important, public lands are important, all of those things are important, but we need to do even more. And I look forward to leading that in the Attorney General's office and bringing people together from around the state to make real results for people. That's what I've done as a lawmaker. I can bring people together, find common ground, common solutions, and then even pull them more to what I would like to see happen because it makes sense to them. And then we can implement those common solutions. That's what we really need to do, is we need to have a fighter in there who's gonna make our lives better. And I look forward to doing that as Attorney General.
Very good. Wow. That's a lot. And that's a lot of things that we need to do. And there's not a lot more to add to that, but is there any local issues in Montana on which the Attorney General need to act right now, Kim, or things that maybe you're seeing as well?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, locally, I think I've covered them, but I would like to talk more what we're seeing with the coronavirus and how it's really shown some real cracks in what we see in our systems. And I see this as a violence advocate for domestic violence survivors. I see it as a nurse, as a public health professional. I see it as an attorney and a lawmaker. We have so many problems that have been ignored in our society for too long. For example, we have our essential workers. 70% of them approximately are women, and they are paid probably about 70% of what men are. And so we have an equality issue there. We also have problems with not having sufficient resources in place, like family medical leave resources or other worker protections that people really need right now. Our wages have not grown for most workers, and yet the top echelon of our society has seen their profits grow over the years. And so we see now when you can't work for a week, many people can't pay their bills. And so it's a problem. And I think that we need to be more aware of the issues that have come about because of the coronavirus and take positive steps to address them, not just go back to the normal of what was before this pandemic happened. And I think we need to really examine how we got here, what this has shown us needs to be changed, and then really take steps to change it, because we need to move our state forward. And that's some more local current issues that we really need to address and that we're seeing in our state.
Very good. Thank you. Especially now, because we can't meet you directly. This is the best way we can get to see you, Kim, is through this teleconference and reach people. Now it comes down to some personal things. I know you play the piano, Kim. So tell me about your piano. What's your favorite piano music, and what do you play, and something about your kids that you love?
Sure. Yeah, I play piano. My mother started me playing piano when I was in grade school, and she said, "You'll appreciate this when you're older." She used to set the timer for 15 minutes and would like sneak out to the kitchen and noodle at the timer so we didn't have to practice. But sure enough, I appreciate it now, and she's right. I have started, my older son plays piano also, but then my older daughter is wanting to play. So a funny thing's happened now that we can't go anywhere with the coronavirus is I've also become a piano teacher. So and I wouldn't say I'm not extremely good, but she's learning to play songs. We're working on Mary Had a Little Lamb right now. So that's fun. And we've taken to having kind of a fun family time where I will play some songs and I'll be like, okay, you guys tell me what that song is, and they have to guess. I'm also working on Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody right now, which is probably one of the more difficult songs I've tried, but it's fun. And it gives me something to work on while we have to stay home so much.
And you get time with your children, which is so wonderful. So that's the beauty of this thing. Maybe there is a golden lining here that we're looking. I know I look out here in Billings, and I can actually see the bighorns and the priors clearly. And so it's obvious, the same thing that we're seeing, how polluted our lands have been and things like that. So Kim, thank you for this time. And Kim, what are ways that people can reach out to you in regards to your websites, donations, things that people can do to get a hold of you?
Great. So first, every Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we have Coffee with Kimberly. So join us on Facebook Live for a coffee event. Shoot me questions if you want me to answer them. We found it's a good way just to stay in contact right now. So that's one way, and that's a Wednesday at 11 every week. And then people can go to my website. It's Dudik for Montana at dudikformontana.com. They can email me at dudikformontana@gmail.com. And if they'd rather call, then they can call at 406-206-4331. So there's many ways to get in touch with me. Check out the website. It has most of the news from throughout the campaign. We're working away right now every day. I have put my practice on hold so that I can devote myself full time to this race. And I think we've put down a solid campaign plan for winning this seat back in November. We have broad spread support throughout the state, and we're just going to keep utilizing all of that support of over 75 current and past elected officials, and really keep reaching out to their communities to build momentum to win this seat. I think people are ready for change, and they're ready to see things happen, and they want someone who can give them results, and that's what I can deliver, and I've proven it time and time again. So I look forward to talking with people. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. It'd be great to talk with people more, and hope to do more events like this too, to find another way to reach out to people.
Awesome, Kim. I appreciate your time this evening, and you know how to get a hold of Kim. So thank you everyone for coming to this recording, and we'll talk to you next time with Cocktails with the Candidates. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.